It was supposed to be a routine evening flight, quiet skies, a smooth journey, nothing unusual. A man boarded first class, dressed in a simple blazer, carrying himself with the quiet confidence of someone who didn't need to prove anything. To the attendants, he seemed ordinary, unremarkable, just another traveler. But beneath that calm exterior was a power few could imagine. Because in less than an hour, an act of humiliation dripping, with arrogance and bias, would shatter the calm of the cabin. The man they dismissed, ignored, and looked down on wasn't just a passenger. He was the owner of the airline itself. His name was Marcus Reed, a billionaire entrepreneur and the CEO of one of the world's largest airlines, raised in Detroit by a father who worked long factory shifts and a mother who kept their small home together with strength and sacrifice. Marcus grew up with a burning determination. He knew what it meant to be underestimated, overlooked, and pushed aside because of the color of his skin. From a young age, Marcus dreamed big. By 35, he had built his airline into a global empire, leading fleets that stretched across continents, connecting millions of people every year. Yet despite his success, Marcus never forgot the voices of ordinary travelers. He received letter after letter from passengers who complained of mistreatment, ignored grievances, and subtle bias. He knew that no corporate report or polished memo could truly reveal the truth. That's why, on this evening, he chose to board anonymously. He dressed down, avoided the look of wealth, and booked a first-class seat under a different name. He wanted to see, not as CEO, but as a black man, how his own company treated its passengers. The signs appeared early. As he boarded, others received bright smiles and warm greetings. But when his turn came, the air chilled. He felt it instantly. That quiet, suffocating message of "you don't belong here." Till Marcus remained calm. He found his window seat, quietly unfolding a notebook. Yet deep down, he sensed this flight would become something far more than just a test. As the plane prepared for takeoff, first-class service began. Attendants moved gracefully down the aisle, offering menus and champagne, placing meals delicately on tray tables. Laughter and light chatter floated through the cabin. But when Marcus asked about his meal option, the attendant standing before him barely looked at him. Her lips tightened. With dismissive certainty, she told him there were limited meals and he'd need to wait until others were served. Marcus watched silently as passengers behind him, who had boarded later, were immediately offered their full meals. His seat, intentionally passed over, became a symbol of something far heavier than hunger. The humiliation sharpened when he gently reminded them he hadn't been served. The attendant's voice rose, loud enough for all nearby to hear. She suggested he should be grateful just to be sitting in first class. Gasps rippled across the cabin. Some passengers turned away, uncomfortable, while others stared in disbelief. No one spoke. No one stepped in. Marcus felt the familiar weight pressing on him, not of shame, but of clarity. This wasn't new. It wasn't unique. It was what so many black men lived through daily, being treated as though their presence was undeserved. He stared out the window, seeing not the clouds, but the reflection of countless voices. He had promised to protect passengers who wrote of being treated as invisible. Tonight, he would carry their voices with his own. The attendants didn't know who he was. To them, he was just a black man they believed they could dismiss without consequence. But Marcus had built his life turning pain into power, and now he knew it was time. Once the seatbelt sign dimmed, Marcus pressed the service button. The same attendant arrived, impatience etched across her face. But this time, Marcus was ready. He reached into his blazer and pulled out a sleek black folder. On the tray table, he placed his CEO identification badge alongside an official company letter marked with the airline's embossed seal. The attendant froze. Her eyes widened. Around them, passengers craned to see, whispers spreading like fire. For the first time that evening, Marcus spoke, not with anger, but with authority that cut through the cabin. He identified himself as the chief executive, officer of the very airline they were flying, and in front of every passenger, he declared that what had just happened was not bad service, it was racial discrimination, an act that betrayed everything his company claimed to stand for. The cabin fell silent, the weight of his words echoing. Crew members rushed forward, their earlier arrogance dissolving into panic. But the damage was done. Marcus's decision was swift. Effective immediately, the entire flight crew was relieved of their duties. Though they would remain on board until landing, their employment was terminated. The announcement sent shock waves through the cabin. Some passengers broke into applause. Others sat wide-eyed, realizing they had just witnessed history unfold at 30,000 feet. When the plane landed, a replacement crew stood ready at the gate, summoned by Marcus's executive team during the flight. The dismissed attendants walked off quietly, the arrogance in their posture replaced by shame. But Marcus didn't stop there. Within days, he ordered a sweeping internal review, investing millions into anti-bias training, stricter accountability, and new anonymous reporting systems. He demanded that his airline not only apologize for discrimination, but actively fight to eradicate it. News of the incident spread across the globe. Headlines celebrated the black CEO who had stood his ground in his own cabin, transforming humiliation into justice. For many, it was more than a corporate story. It was a moment of vindication, a story that told every overlooked, unheard, and unseen traveler, your pain matters. Your dignity matters. You matter. Marcus made it clear this wasn't about vengeance. It was about accountability. It was about proving that leadership meant nothing if it failed to protect the very people it served. In the months that followed, his airline became a model for equity in aviation, praised not just for luxury or efficiency, but for fairness and dignity. Standing at a press conference, Marcus was asked what message he hoped the world took from the flight that changed everything. His answer was firm, steady, unforgettable. Racism doesn't survive because of the few who act with bias. It survives because too many stay silent. On my airline, silence is over. And so the question lingers. If you had been sitting in that cabin, would you have stayed quiet or spoken up?